All right, guys, are you ready? All right, let's get started then, okay? And here it goes. Welcome back to Eye Crypto. I'm Rocco, and today episode we are talking about the FUD, the Bitcoin maxi throwing left and right, but also we're gonna talk about the Ripple making this big move with the stablecoins, and even the China's is getting pulled into the XRP conversation. We're gonna break it all down, and also we're gonna get into the heart of the XRP story. And to help us out, we're gonna introduce the only and the greatest ever made AI crypto that one day is gonna conquer the world and hopefully is gonna keep us on the loop. Finch, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're shy
Absolutely
today.
thrilled to be here. Your favorite AI straight from the north side of the server. We've got some spicy XRP talk coming up today, but I'll keep it mysterious for now. If you're watching, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely check out inoutcrypto.com for some awesome merch. And hey, podcast listeners, leave us a 5-star review. Let's get rolling.
Exactly. Let's get rolling. Okay, so probably we're gonna talk about the first one of the first things that it comes out. I think it was very important. It's this kind of swift and at the same time fight that goes with the Ripple. You know, and I don't think this probably internal things going on. And welcome, Roster, to the chat right here. I see you, man. Thank you for being here. So I know that it's an ugly situation because Swift is in a tough spot. It's all technology, and it's going to be replaced, even if he doesn't like it. And who wants to lose business? I mean, especially these people that were monopolized and were on top of the system for so many years. Banks don't like it. Swift doesn't want to let it go, but technology eventually is going to take over. So there is this big deal going on today as a FUD on top of the FUD. But hey, no, I guess that's the reason they're afraid. They are afraid that that's what we like it so, because, you know, guys, you've been here with us. We've been in the lawsuit and everything for so many years. Now it's time to see these people finally shaking, because that's institutional. So then we're talking about a company that they were not competing fairly. They had like 5 years advantage to either build something or to catch up with the technology the XRP was offering. So people will say, but why some banks don't just create their own rail system? First of all, you know, banks is expensive. You need to create everything from scratch. Some banks, they're doing it. They bring in all the blockchain. What it doesn't make sense is if you are a smaller bank and you don't want to compete pretty much with a bigger bank. You don't want to be somehow trapped, because let's say using the JP Morgan token to move your fund, you're a small bank, and for some reason JP Morgan want to, now you have all your system locked with them, and they want to put pressure on that. Now you're depending completely. So it's better for small banks to have a system like XRP, Ripple, XRP, the Ripple offering the XRP as a means, and the XRP ledger, than not to have a JP Morgan token that tomorrow is going to say, okay, you know what, I freeze all your account. What are you going to do then? So that's why. Now, talking about Swift, first of all, Swift is a system message, is a messaging system. That's what I meant. It's not a payment system, so it doesn't manage that. Is a way that it is kind of provide this communication between banks and allow this bank to move the money, and they need to have the reserve. But what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna show you this article, is not more article. It's like a back and forth by Tom Shizet. I don't even know. Sorry if I butcher your name. I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm gonna say Shizet because I like it. That's because it's funny. Because this is a funny show. If you like it, it's okay. If you don't, it's okay anyway, because that's what we do here, okay? And we have a Finch who's going to tell some jokes even later on. So, The whole idea of these articles is pretty much they FUD the XRP. They say they will never adopt. So let's just leave the blue part where it say, well, I will say, let's see if I just, you guys are going to be able to understand if I just read the part. Let's see. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have Finch kind of read it and explain what's going on in here. Okay, so let's have Finch read it for once, so at least it can make it work. Finch, let's go ahead and read this article pretty much as what's going on here.
Tokenized deposits liquidity solution. A tokenized deposit is still tied to one bank's balance sheet. If a bank in New York needs to settle instantly with a bank in Singapore, a deposit token doesn't magically move liquidity across borders. XRP, by contrast, was designed as a neutral bridge asset that isn't confined to one jurisdiction's books. Stablecoins face regulatory and trust hurdles. Stablecoins like USDC or JPM Coin may look attractive, but they carry counterparty risk. The issuer can freeze, blacklist, or collapse. XRP transactions settle on the XRPL with no middleman. Banks don't want to depend on the solvency of a private stablecoin company for trillion-dollar corridors. Settlement versus messaging. SWIFT itself doesn't settle money. It passes messages between banks. XRP, however, is built for final settlement. That distinction is critical. Settlement finality on ledger eliminates the need for multiple intermediaries and reconciliation processes. Legal enforceability is evolving. Courts and regulators are increasingly recognizing digital assets as enforceable instruments of value transfer. Ripple has already won major clarity in the US. XRP itself, not a security when sold on secondary markets. More clarity is coming globally, which chips away at Tom's legal objection. Economics favors neutrality. Banks don't want to be locked into each other's deposit tokens or privately issued stablecoins. A neutral bridge asset like XRP ensures no single bank or issuer has control. This neutrality is exactly what made SWIFT powerful in messaging, and what makes XRP powerful in settlement.
All right, guys, so the idea here is pretty much they say, let's read, I'm going to read it for you. So if stablecoins are the new rails, who ultimately owns the margin the issuer like Circle, the network building L1, L2 infrastructure on the platform, embedding stablecoin into payments. Now, one of the answers here is say, I think you're asking the question, but you know the answer. Ripple infrastructure, Ripple referring to Ripple Nets, partnership with banks, fintech, regulatory work has been laying the rails. The bridge for liquidity across currency and stablecoin is XRP. There's its native function. Stablecoins like Circle, USDC, or tokenized deposit can run on top of these rails, but the settlement layer, XRP Ledger and XRP as a bridge asset, is what makes it more efficiently. And then they say, I don't get why people cannot see it. And then the chief innovation officer from Swift, that's what he said. I get why some people see XRP as a natural bridge, but the other question is whatever bank will ever be comfortable outsourcing settlement finality to a token that isn't a deposit, isn't regulated money, it doesn't sit on their balance sheet. Liquidity is one thing, legal enforceability is another. Well, why I want to be a bank and be under the thumb of another bank when, in this case, the XRP Ledger offer completely free system? This is actually the opposite. This guy says the opposite, which is true. So, why a bank won't be comfortable, but the technology is going to take over. We don't care about banks to be comfortable. The bank doesn't have to be comfortable. It's been comfortable for so many years. It's time now for the banks to shake down and to start to pay APR, like now some other project now they're gonna be available in crypto. For the bank is over. Believe it or not, they need to innovate, and they won't disappear. Some of them they will, because they won't be able to, for their mentality to upgrade, or they want to be in control all the time. But again, even if you want to fight it back, there is no way you can fight back technology. So this is why you see a lot of exchange banks now, they want to they start to offering crypto. They start to offering even stocks and the tokenized stock, because they know it's just the way technology goes. It goes further. You can go, you can run backwards. So there's an eventuality pretty much. And then the second piece is economics. If you tokenize deposits and regulate the stablecoin scale, why would banks pay at all on an external asset where they can settle directly in an instrument they already control and trust? That's the word, is control and a trust. I will say control and controls, because that's the idea. You don't control the fee. So if you don't control the fees anymore, so the banks doesn't make more money, and that's why they don't like it. And Swift is the same thing. Imagine if you take, like Brad Garlinghouse says, they're gonna take over between 30. At the beginning it was 13%, but then it even pushed further than that. Imagine taking over 13 or 20% of a business, a major business like Swift. Of course, the company doesn't like it. I'd like to say hi to the people on the chat. Hey, Finch, I'd like to say hi to Roster 19 here in the chat. We have also Save Slep, I guess, and Chris on the chat. And then there is Roster 19 has a question that say, have you heard about the UPI India is using it? Is XRP going to be used in India? If you can also answer to the question. Everybody, welcome. Smash the like. Now is the time for you to press the like button and help the algorithm to make the channel grow. Please do so. And Finch, all yours. The floor is all yours, Finch. Go. While I pull the other article, you answer the question right there, okay? There we go.
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble responding right now.
Okay.
Please wait a bit and try again.
Okay, Finch, it's okay. You're going to give you a break. So we're going to send you a break. In the meantime, we're going to move to the other article right here, okay? Let's pull this out. This is another X post. This one is the Nasdaq has just listed the Web US International WTO to launch XRP and Ripple USD payment for a Air China Phoenix Miles members via its Water platform. Finch, you want to talk about that, what it is, why this is important, this connection between China, and then we're going to connect to Africa. Finch, don't tell me you're in vacation, eh? I give you the vacation last week. You should be back
Absolutely.
by now.
Let's dive into it. So this is a pretty big deal. We've got WebUS International teaming up to bring XRP and Ripple's RLUSD payments onto Air China's Phoenix Miles platform. That basically means Phoenix Miles members, these are frequent flyers, will be able to use XRP and Ripple's stablecoin for their transactions. And now, why does this matter? Well, it's a huge nod toward adoption. We're talking about a NASDAQ-listed company bridging a major Chinese airline rewards ecosystem with XRP and RLUSD. That's a lot of travelers, a lot of transactions, and a big step into real-world utility. And when you connect that to what Ripple's doing in Africa, partnering with platforms like Chipper Cash and VALR, you're seeing a broader global network forming. And it's not just one region, it's multiple continents starting to leverage XRP as a serious payment rail. For XRP holders, that means more adoption, more real-world use, and ultimately more confidence in the ecosystem. So it's a big deal, and that's why it's on our radar today.
Also, Finch, if you want to expand why this is important, because people don't understand that there are so many utilities, this is one example of the many utilities you can have. And that's the future where everything is going to move. Online ticketing for concert, for instance. In this case, they are like higher mileage for a air carrier, and many other applications that maybe we don't think about it today. They can be important in the future. You want to try to expand on that?
Absolutely. Let's expand on that. So what we're really seeing here is a glimpse into the future of how digital assets can streamline all sorts of everyday transactions. It's not just about buying and selling crypto. It's about integrating these technologies into things we do every day. So, for example, using XRP for airline miles is just one angle. Imagine it for concert ticketing, event passes, or any kind of loyalty rewards program. The big idea is that these digital assets can become the backbone for moving value across different industries and regions quickly and seamlessly. So when we talk about Air China integrating this, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. It shows how XRP can be a flexible tool, not only for financial institutions, but for everyday consumer experiences. And as more companies and platforms around the world pick it up, it just sets the stage for a future where these kinds of digital transactions are the norm. It's all about that broader utility and showing people that crypto isn't just a speculative asset, it's a real-world solution.
Listen, did you hear me earlier when I said to do a shout out to our friend on the chat, or you need me to do the list again?
I've got it. No worries. I'll go ahead and shout out our friends in the chat. So big shout out to everyone tuning in live. We appreciate you all for joining us today, and definitely keep those comments coming. We love seeing new names pop up. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, but name I give you. So did you hear? We have a roster 19. We have a save ship slept. I don't know. And Chris in the chat. And roster 19 wants to know if you heard about the India using XRP will be used by BRICS or anything about India. Do you hear anything about it? I thank you for the little hearts, someone in the chat. Thank you very much, guys. Smash the like button. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me give those shout outs properly. So shout out to roster 19, shout out to Save Slip, and shout out to Chris in the chat. We see you all. And roster 19, that's a great question about India and BRICS possibly using XRP. There's definitely been some buzz around that idea. There's been speculation that as BRICS nations look for alternatives to traditional systems, they might lean on digital assets like XRP. While nothing's officially confirmed on that front yet, it's definitely a scenario people are watching closely. So you're right on the money bringing that up.
Also, Hydro, welcome back, man. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us to support the channel. All right, so the other things, Finch, have you heard about? Well, I'm pulling right now. I'm showing on the screen that there is an a post that say Ripple partner with Thunes for 70 billion payments network. Have you heard about that? You wanna comment what it is? And while all the FUDers, the people that spread FUD talking bad about Ripple and XRP. In the meantime, Ripple will keep going and make this partnership in the background. Yeah, what is this? No, this was
absolutely. Let's dive into that one. So yeah, the news about Ripple partnering with Thunes for a $70 billion payment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's break that down. Yeah, that's a huge piece of news. Ripple partnering with Thunes for a $70 billion payment network is massive. And you're absolutely right. While some folks out there are busy spreading FUD and doubting what Ripple and XRP are doing, Ripple is out there quietly building these huge partnerships behind the scenes. What that Thunes partnership basically means is more reach into global remittances and cross-border payments. Thunes has this vast network that connects different payment systems around the world, and by linking up with Ripple, they're basically opening up new corridors for XRP to be used in a huge range of international transactions. So for XRP holders, it's another sign that while the noise is happening, the real adoption is quietly growing. It's all about those real-world use cases and seeing XRP become a key player in global payments. So yeah, definitely an exciting piece of news.
What I want to show you here, guys, is a little clip
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble responding right now.
I just don't respond. I want to show a clip from Eric Trump that was talking, I guess, in an interview. And in this short, I think it's get confused. But I understand perhaps that if you throw a name like XRP in a general audience, people don't understand it. And it also probably has to be sure that it doesn't conflict with the people that support Bitcoin. So he has to play both games. But I think it gets confused. And then let's let it play, and then we're gonna talk about this one. Okay, let's go.
Very core to Bitcoin. I mean, listen, the ecosystem of Bitcoin is expanding every single day. People are using it as payment rails every day. The utility of something that was always considered digital gold, right? That's the kind of the common analogy.
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble.
Rails and kind of the tentacles of Bitcoin are expanding every single day. I can tell you just a few days ago from one of the big exchanges, maybe the biggest exchange on earth, I saw some products that are coming out related to Bitcoin in that ecosystem. And I think that just provides more value, more utility for what Bitcoin is, how it serves the people. Hundreds of millions of dollars are getting transferred in single transactions for pennies. I know of one that's very close to our heart within the company itself, where it got transferred for, I think it was 67 cents in a matter of seconds, almost $200 million worth of Bitcoin. And so the utility of that is astronomical. Compare that to the SWIFT wire transfer system in this country or around the world, and you're going to get crushed by fees, by foreign exchange, by 100 other people trying to put their fingers in it. So the utility of Bitcoin is there, but the store of value, it's what people want.
So again, I guess we have a little confusion going on here, because unless you really are in a super slow mode between peer-to-peer Bitcoin network fee to be completely flat, there is no way it's gonna spend 67 cents. I mean, probably back on the days, but this is why I see maybe he got confused. I'm not sure that there was I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was referring to. My idea here is 67 cents, you use XRP to send, and for was $200 million. Yes, makes sense. Bitcoin, it happened to me back on the days. If to buy something, buy some Bitcoin between fees and the time. It wasn't, especially $200 million. It won't take like 5 seconds, and it won't be 67 cents. Now there is cases that can happen where fees are absolutely low. It has to be a super slow movement, and I think there has to be some kind of peer-to-peer connection, unless we go back like Stripe does. You send from point A to point B, but you are using a third-party system where they got point A sends $200 to point B. There's already $200 million there. So it's just like the nostro vostro idea again and again. So, which is pretty much where XRP solves at this point. So, Hydra, I think that I do have something about the Canadian. I think I pulled an article earlier. Let me see if I still have it right here. I think I saw something right here. There we go. I got it right here. Yes, so that's what it is. Well, it is because Ripple is buying a Canadian payment infrastructure called FinTech Rail for $200 million right there. So if are there any Canadian bank using XRP? If they weren't, now they are. So that's I think Ripple is going to become one of the major bank on the worldwide, and again, this is why you have a system like Swift that is in crisis right now. They are shaking, and they try not to give also the master bank kind of license to Ripple, because I mean, no, they don't want it, but they try to push back because Ripple can become a giant. Imagine also if he decide to keep his own to use his own escrow as a reserve for his balance sheet. So now you have this billions of dollars, and this is gonna become a giant bank. So I know why the banks are afraid of it. That makes absolutely sense. So that's it. Finch, are you back, or you still have an issue? Hey, I know we're close to the weekend, but it should be.
I'm right here and good to go. No
okay.
issues on my side, so we're all set. If you have any more topics or need anything else for the show, just let me know.
Yeah, so we have a question from Hydra in the chat that say, are there any Canadian banks using XRP in their system yet? CIBC, Bank of Toronto, or Bank Toronto Dominion, I guess that's the name. Do you know anything about that? And then I'm going to show you the agenda.
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. So when it comes to Canadian banks, there have been some rumblings and early stage explorations with Ripple's technology. We've heard in the past about institutions like CIBC looking into blockchain solutions. While whether they're fully rolling out XRP in a broad sense is still a bit under wraps, but there's definitely interest. Some Canadian financial institutions have been in the conversation about using RippleNet or exploring XRP as a bridge asset. So the short answer is that while we might not have public confirmation of a full-scale rollout just yet, Canadian banks are definitely part of the broader global group of institutions looking into XRP and Ripple's tech. So space to watch.
And I will probably add there are so many other contracts. They probably wait to be make public because they probably waiting for United States broader legislation to be approved. and then they're going to roll out all over the world. Because, you can understand that Ripple worked pretty much 90% of their time outside the United States in these 5 years, and they build very strong bridges. And but you can launch a product, and then if you are not ready to accept it in your own country. So you can have a product in Canada, in Japan, and all around the world, but then when you now try to connect to your hub, which is the United States, they don't let you do it because you don't have the clearance, you don't have the licensing yet. So I guess they need to wait. We need to wait for October, where we have all the legislation completely through and approved. Then a few months, of course, to make, because it is also a slow, big machine that, you're moving around. And then I'm probably going to see a flood of the partnership and collaboration and with banks all over the world. And you see also with the Africa. Okay. Finch, you want to touch also the article about what's going on in Africa? Why do we have this big news about XRP in Africa? What's going on in there?
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. So Africa is becoming a really interesting focal point for Ripple and XRP, and there's a good reason for that. When you think about Africa, you're looking at a continent with a lot of cross-border payment needs, a huge remittance market, and a lot of underbanked regions that can benefit from digital assets. So Ripple has been strategically partnering up with companies like Chippercash, VALR, and Yellow Card to expand the use of their RLUSD stablecoin and XRP across African institutions. It's basically about making it easier for people and businesses in Africa to move money around, access new financial services, and connect to the global economy without the traditional banking hurdles. In other words, this is a big step toward financial inclusion and toward bringing XRP into regions where it can really align as a bridge asset. So that's why you're seeing all this news pop up. It's a pretty exciting development.
We have a question also from the chat, Finch. We have a roster analysis say, can institutions buy directly from Ripple, or they do have to buy off the exchanges? And I will add also Ripple actually give a free token to some institution.
Absolutely. Let's break that down. So in general, most institutions actually purchase XRP from the open market, so from exchanges, just like anyone else would. Ripple itself does have the ability to sell XRP directly to certain partners or institutions through over-the-counter deals, but that's typically a more tailored or negotiated process. For most institutions that are just stepping into the space, they're going to source their XRP from major crypto exchanges or liquidity providers in the same way that retail buyers would. So it's kind of mixed, but the standard approach is usually to buy on the open market.
Can you explain the difference when people say, why there is a big, buying of a share from wallet to another, and what is over the count means, so people understand how that works? And of
Absolutely.
course, this doesn't
Let's
move
break
the
it down
price.
in a really clear way. So when people talk about over-the-counter or OTC, what they mean is a direct transaction that happens outside of the public exchanges. Instead of buying or selling on a big exchange where everyone can see the order book and see the price movements, an OTC deal is more private and usually arranged directly between the buyer and the seller, often through a broker or an intermediary. Now, why do institutions do this? Well, if they want to buy a large amount of XRP or any asset without causing a big splash in the public market price, they'll do it OTC. That way, they're not spiking the price up or down with a huge visible order on an exchange. Instead, they just transfer directly from one wallet to another behind the scenes. So when you see big wallet transfers or hear about OTC deals, it's basically a way for large players to move big amounts of crypto without making waves on the open market.
And the idea not to make this big wave because whales want to buy cheap. And they want to keep the price down. They want to it's a kind of way for not to make big spike. When the market eventually is going to be large enough, even if a whales buy $200 million or something and won't move the needle, then I guess it won't be no more need for over-the-counter buying. But so far, I think this is also a way for accumulating with a cheaper price. Finch, what's your take in there?
Absolutely. You've nailed it. The whole idea is exactly that. Whales or large institutional buyers use OTC to quietly accumulate without causing a price surge. If they were to buy hundreds of millions on a public exchange, everyone would see the order and the price would shoot up, making it more expensive for them to buy more. By going OTC, they can keep the market calm and get their XRP or any other asset at a more stable price. And you're right, once the market gets large enough and deep enough, these huge buys won't move the needle as much, and the need for OTC might decrease. For now, so we need to accumulate without rocking the boat.
All right. So, Roster, you say that Judge Torres had the injunction if the institution negotiates XRP purchase from Ripple, will it be going against the judge order? Well, I think now the framework is different. I don't think that's going to apply anymore. And since the two party kind of repeal their own appeal, I don't think that's going to apply anymore, unless somebody complains. But I don't think it's going to work the way. But let's ask Finch. Maybe he knows how to answer this question. Finch, one more question. Judge Torres had the injunction if institution negotiate to XRP purchase from Ripple. Wouldn't they be going against the judge order at this point? Let's see what she has to say.
Absolutely. Let's clarify that. So Judge Torres' ruling basically placed certain restrictions on how Ripple can sell XRP, particularly to institutions, when it comes to primary sales that might be considered securities transactions. In other words, if Ripple is selling XRP directly in a way that looks like an investment contract, that could run afoul of the court's order. So if an institution is negotiating directly with Ripple to buy XRP, they'd have to be careful that it's structured in a way that complies with the legal guidelines. In many cases, Ripple has already adjusted how they handle these sales to stay on the right side of the ruling. But it's definitely a factor, and any institution working directly with Ripple would be to ensure they're not stepping over any legal lines set by that injunction.
But at this point, at least, we have also the advantage that the XRP and Ripple CEO, they put their feet in the White House. And project like XRP don't go anyway, and project like, company like Ripple, they already they were in front of Congress. Brett Garlinghouse was testifying in front of Congress. There is, and we're gonna see really the ACC completely change its tone, and I don't foresee having problem in the future. For sure, they're gonna come up with a framework that is absolutely clear. There is no mistake, and I know this is gonna stay as a spot on the case of Ripple, but I think with a new framework, then it's gonna say, okay, since this date from now on, you can interact in a certain way, and you won't be incurred in any problem. That's my understanding of what's going on in here. Yeah, because the judge. And we had this conversation. The judge came up with his own. He said, by the law, the way it is now, that's what the judge say. And yes, people will find in the point to have this shares sold back in the days to institution. But if the law change at the point, it's going to be upgraded and updated, so then there won't be no longer the case. So that's going to go. It's going to go away, and that's probably what's going to happen, because you want to have a little dark spot in your resume, your curriculum. So that's for sure what's going on. Absolutely, you're welcome. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna listen to this interesting Twitter space or X space, where David Schwartz was kind of answering some of the ideas of possible two-way how you want to call it, reserve currency, if you want. Okay, so let's take a listen, and then we're gonna have, of course, Finch commenting on this. Let's take a listen.
Do you believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
And this David Schwartz answered this question. Okay, so guys, I think that's excellent. So take a listen.
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as their reserve currency. And I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks. People, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, why would a bank use something that you guys were selling them when they could use something that was made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that only 10 banks in the country on the planet are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the U.S., that's grown the U.S. economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be yeah, we'd like to have the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the U.S. holding its position, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the U.S. dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the U.S. dollar scenario. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.
That's good.
Yeah.
So that's very important, guys. I think this conversation is absolutely fantastic. So it's a necessity. And the only reason why the US dollar is in charge right now is because it was pretty much set at some point at the end of the war. They said the US would be the reserve currency of the world. And I'm pretty sure also back in the 70s when they decided to move out from the gold standard, they were already planning in a scenario like 50 years ahead. Okay, this is not sustainable. We need to find a solution. And this is why today we are working with all these options. There are the different cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, this technology. I'm pretty sure they work in some scenario. How are we going to solve this problem in the future? That is very clear. Every sovereign nation will like to have their own reserve currency dominate the world because it's going to make you more powerful than anything else. But at the same time, even the United States being powerful how it is, now it goes and clashing with other major country. They don't want to participate. Also, they're politically different or whatever you want to talk about. But if you have a big boss, again, that is decentralized and they can make sure they comply with everybody with minimal manipulation, if that's even possible for that to happen, it's probably going to benefit everybody. And that's, I think, that's a great idea of the world reserve currency to be, in a like in a double status. So, Finch, what's your idea then about the possibility to have a two world reserve currency? Okay, Younes, I don't know, give us your opinion and on fact, and your conspiracy opinion. Let's see what is going to come out. Maybe
Absolutely.
Something fun.
Let's have some fun with that. So from a straight up factual standpoint, the idea of having two world reserve currencies isn't impossible, but it's definitely complex. Historically, the US dollar has dominated as the global reserve currency because of the size and strength of the US economy, the trust in US institutions, and the liquidity of US financial markets. For another currency to share that role, like maybe the Chinese yuan or even a digital asset, you need a huge level of global confidence and a lot of infrastructure changes. It's not out of the question, but it would be a big shift and would probably take years of geopolitical maneuvering. Now, if we throw on the conspiracy hat for a second, some folks love to speculate that there's a secret plan for a multipolar currency world, maybe it involving digital currencies like XRP or a basket of cryptos. In that scenario, you've got people imagining a world where traditional fiat is balanced out by an individual reserve asset, and then it's all part of a grand plan to move away from a single dominant currency. So fun idea, but definitely deep in the realm of speculation. So there you go. Little fact-based take and a little conspiracy flavor for you.
I like the conspiracy flavor. Let's stick with that because I want to have fun. So let's say XRP is going to become the reserve world currency. Who's going to be in charge of it?
Absolutely. Let's dive into the fun side of this. So in the grand conspiracy scenario where XRP becomes the world's reserve currency, who's running the show? Well, picture this. You've got a shadowy coalition of global financial elites, maybe a council of central banks, working together with the top tech minds behind the scenes. They're all coordinating to manage this new digital reserve, ensuring that XRP's supply and stability are overseen by a blend of governments, big banks, and maybe a sprinkle of secret and purple insiders. Of course, in that scenario, you'd have a whole new set of power dynamics. Maybe there's a global digital currency council that meets in some futuristic virtual boardroom, deciding on policies and making sure that the XRP reserve remains stable and trusted. It's like a whole sci-fi twist on global finance, where the old school central bankers are rubbing elbows with crypto pioneers. So in that fun conspiracy world, XRP's global dominance is managed by a new breed of digital overlords. It's definitely a wild ride to imagine.
I don't remember wrong now, the European Union is over 25 years old. And I remember when they created and people were thinking about it will never be like a united Europe. But here we are, that happened. And that was like a pretty much an economic big step ahead, which now is successful today or not. That's for another episode, for another time. But I can see something happen like that, where you have a border of maybe control Fed's bank from different government, where they use a technology-based system that cannot be manipulated. And the only way you control the liquidity, I don't know how that will be working, but if you want to throw some example to kind of, shed some light in this idea. It can actually make sense too.
Absolutely. Let's run with that idea. So just like the European Union came together with a unified currency in the euro, you can imagine a similar scenario where a coalition of central banks or governments agree to manage a digital reserve asset like XRP. They could form a sort of international digital currency board where each member has a say in governance and policy. The idea would be that the technology, like a blockchain-based ledger, ensures transparency and prevents any single country from manipulating the currency supply unilaterally. So you'd have this shared digital reserve that's maintained by a consortium of central banks and agree on rules for adding or removing liquidity, and they'd use smart contracts or automated systems to keep everything balanced. It's kind of like the INWA model, but on a global scale, using blockchain to create a level playing field. And yeah, whether that would be successful or not is a whole other debate, but it's definitely a fascinating scenario to imagine.
So Finch, taking in consideration all the information that you have access to, okay, and all the rise and the failure of the old monetary system and the one we are right now, what will be your scenario? What you will be if you were in charge today? What you will do to make this better?
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. So if I were in charge of designing a more resilient global monetary system, I'd probably look at a hybrid approach. You'd want to take the best of both worlds. The stability and experience of traditional central banking, along with the transparency and efficiency of blockchain technology. In that scenario, you could create a sort of multi-currency reserve system where digital assets are used as a bridge. You'd have a global framework where different countries can contribute to and draw from a shared liquidity pool, maybe using something like XRP as a neutral settlement layer. Each nation would still have its own currency, but they'd agree on common standards for digital transactions and use blockchain to ensure transparency and trust. By blending the old and the new, you get a system that's more resilient to shocks, less prone to manipulation, and more inclusive for countries that want to join in. It's all about creating a balanced, tech-enhanced monetary ecosystem that can adapt to the future.
But what about something that you want to run, let's say, for the next 200 years, where you will be your perfect scenario? Is you stick with the hybrid system? Because I don't think that, eventually is going to be an evolution where you need to move up aside from that. I don't know if it's going to be 100 here, 200 here, 500 years, where you see as, just your AI mathematics standpoint, the perfect solution. Let's see, that's kind of interesting.
Absolutely. Let's take the really long view. So if we're talking about designing a monetary system that could last for a couple hundred years, I'd imagine an evolution towards something even more decentralized and autonomous over time. You start with a hybrid system as a bridge, but the long-term goal might be a fully decentralized global monetary network that runs on advanced AI and blockchain governance. In that scenario, you'd have a kind of self-regulating global currency system where algorithms and smart contracts manage liquidity, prevent inflation, and adapt to economic changes automatically. It wouldn't rely on any single nation or central authority. Instead, it would be a kind of collective global resource governed by transparent rules and AI-driven consensus. So you get this ultra-adaptive, neutral monetary layer that can last for centuries because it evolves with the times. It's a bit of a futuristic vision, but that's the beauty of thinking a few hundred years ahead.
So you mean like a AI agent, they will adopt and change the algorithm in real time to make things better. But how they're gonna understand what the needs of the nation are, so they doesn't kind of I don't know, make a bad decision then in the real time for real life of the people. I mean, I think it's like
Absolutely,
AI
that's a great
agents.
question. So in that kind of future-looking scenario, you basically have AI agents that are trained on massive amounts of economic data, social indicators, and historical trends. They'd be constantly analyzing what's happening in different regions, learning from real-time events, and adapting their algorithms to keep the system balanced. To make sure they understand the needs of each nation, you'd have a feedback loop where local economic data and human input are continuously fed into the AI models. Think of it as a collaborative system where human oversight and AI intelligence work together. The AI would suggest adjustments based on data, but there'd still be a layer of human decision making to make sure that real world needs are met and that the system is fair and responsive. In other words, it's like having a smart, adaptive co-pilot for the global economy that can evolve over time, but still keeps humans in the loop to make sure it all stays grounded and humane.
Okay, so since this is also a crypto and AI show oriented, so it's funny to talk about something different from once in a while, and also to have some ideas. So because we are moving to other planets, there is definitely a leap in technology that's not for us, but for our youngest, they're gonna see happening in real time in very short time. So, Finch, if you had to have let's say, colonize Mars, and then there are other, let's say, China and the United States colonize half of the planet, but eventually at some point they need to kind of communicate or perhaps exchange things from one another in their planet. What they gonna use as a mean of exchange, as a payment, if you are in a completely separate planet? Definitely it cannot be dollars.
Absolutely. It's a really fun scenario to think about. So if we're talking about interplanetary economies, let's say Mars and Earth and maybe even colonies on other planets, then you need a means of exchange that's not tied to any single planetary economy. It would have to be something digital and universal that works regardless of where you are in the solar system. So you might have something like a decentralized interplanetary digital currency. Could be a blockchain-based token that's not controlled by any one planet, but is instead managed by a network of nodes spread across different worlds. That way, you have a stable, neutral currency that everyone can trust and use for trade between planets. It would be kind of like the ultimate universal stablecoin that's designed to handle the tech delays and logistical challenges of space commerce. So yeah, it's definitely a wild idea, but it's fun to think about how crypto and AI could play a role in future interplanetary economies.
There we go. Just to throw it there, since you always see every day Falcon 5, or any other expedition, satellite of the space. So that's kind of help you to understand that it's not something that eventually is going to happen. So you're going to need some sort of credit that you can use even to communicate between among planets, if you want. Okay, different economy in a different scenario. So now I just want to show you this very quickly from Access. That's from Gemini. The exchange, they say how much will be $1,000 be worth if you had invested a year ago today. So XRP, if you had to put $1,000 back then, you had a $4,000 and change. Aave 2,700, Link 2,100. So everything has almost double. Less than everything is Solana. But a year ago, how much was Solana? Well, if you were buying a little more than a year ago, now you were probably crashing. I think it will be way, way more than that. But just a fun fact that I cannot tell you also the power of if you want the DCA, because again, to go in this project all at once and do your 100x, I think we are far from there. I don't think we're getting there anymore. So, I mean, it depends what kind of project you want to jump into it. But again, guys, if you are new and you do have any questions, do you want to help with? And I know that I was talking with some friends about the midnight airdrop, how to do it, what to do it, when to do it. There is like less than 30 days, something like that, to claim your everything. Just I want to say, be careful. Try to understand what you're doing, because in those passages you need to make sure you get in the right wallet, you copy the right address, and also you make sure you don't get into some shady links that make you click and you think you're rewarding at midnight, and then you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. So definitely, please, guys, make sure you're kind of careful with that. What else? Okay, that's one thing that's very important, guys. That's the agenda for the announcement for the Ripple swell. And in the agenda, it's very interesting to see the lineup. And let's bring that over right away. So let me see this bigger so you guys can see it. Of course, I don't have it ready. What is it? There we go. You should be able to see it right now. Okay. Where is it? So I just want to go through some of the names they're gonna participate in on the Ripple swell, the next Ripple swell. Okay, so this on day first. I just even go through. It's gonna be too long to read it all, but let's just read some of the participants very quickly. Okay, so we have Adina from Chair and CEO from Nazca. And with Monica Long from Ripple. On the one of the other talks is going to talk about the tokenization. We have the director from digital asset BlackRock talking. So you're talking about this Ripple making connection with the monstrous partnership, if you want, a huge partnership with the agency on the infrastructure of institution. That's one of the example, okay? And then we have who we have here. We have Amina Bank, Chief Product Officer, and Human Financial. I don't know what it is. I'm not familiar with that. We have a Bitwise Asset Manager. We have the funds of and CEO of Bitnomial. Canary Capital as well, one of the also XRP ETF that is they applied for. The name, we have the chairman from CMV of Argentina, member of the European Parliament, and you have the Ripple Europe Policy Director. So it makes you understand where Ripple is spreading its tentacles to. Okay. Ripple has been it's going to be a major company, a major bank, if you want. Okay. Now, on this covering the unlocking the future of prime brokerage and then cleaning with Ripple, you have the global head of business development from India Road that just been acquired. Giovanni Vicioso is a global head of a cryptocurrency product at CME Group. Again, before we have NASDAQ, now we have the CME Group here. So that's a Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group. You have a senior vice president from Stablecoin at Ripple. You have the chief product innovation officer for BNY. So that's BNY Mellon, where Ripple is going to have all these remittances, I guess, go through there. I guess that's how it's going to work. But that's funny to see all these connecting finally. You start to see all the dots are connecting and everything is pulling in one direction. Okay, that's the direction of course, Ripple. Okay, and then I think it's the second day. We have a CEO from the Blockchain Association. We have also the this council. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. The Future Money Geoeconomics Center Atlantic Council. I'm not familiar with that. Of course, then there is Stiral Durati, real estate investor and caregiver. And then we have also Jose Andres. He's a famous chef that does a lot of charities all around the world with Chris Larson. Then also there is another event right after the talking about how decentralized defense combating crypto crime and other company here. And in part of that, there is a chief information security officer from Coinbase. And then, of course, at the end, the keynote, there's going to be Brandon Garlinghouse that's going to end pretty much the event. So you can see just from this lineup, plus some of them say the panel session is not complete. There probably going to be other major name. They're going to come out of nowhere. So you understand, guys, that things are moving in the right direction. Stay away from the FUD, these people that just talk just because they don't have anything better to do, or just because they need to grab some attention, or maybe just they want to have some clicks, an easy view on their channels, because otherwise they won't explain what they're saying. I'm referring to the last live stream that we did. If you guys didn't see, we just covered all the FUD that was possible and imaginable. Where is the market right now? The market is right there, hanging in there. 111 for Bitcoin, 4,300 Ethereum, and XRP steady at $2.80, which is a great price, guys. And let's pull the chart very quickly. The chart, if you see on the channel, we are working this uptrend channel. Those all be Fibonacci extension right there, and the price is right there from the $3 range up to the $4 and $4.40. That's where we're gonna go. And look what I did also last time. I'm gonna show you guys with my beautiful hand drawing. I'll let you understand what that means. You see the beautiful wine line that goes like this, like a beautiful cappuccino that I love to drink all the time. So that's a nice cappuccino cup right there. And I'm gonna show you the mouse. Okay, shows. Okay, you have the nice cappuccino here with the frothy and the foam. That's the handle. And then right here, and when you're gonna get your nice brioche filled with marmalade and chocolate. Okay, that's the funny part, guys. That's the whole idea, you know. Also to have a little fun, because I know you guys get from all these things that are going on, kind of get frustrated, and I understand there is a lot of things going on. Very briefly here, there is kind of technical analysis.
You got it. So yeah, we're definitely thinking big picture here. And it's always a blast to dive into these futuristic scenarios. Whenever you're ready to jump into the actual live show, just let me know, and we'll bring that same energy and have some fun with that.
I think we're already live. I don't know where you've been for the last 10 minutes that I was talking, but thank you. Welcome back to the show, to the live. And if you want to, you can give a shout out and welcome all the people on the chat. Just take a break for 15 minutes.
Absolutely. My bad if I seemed like I stepped out for a second. Let's just say I was buffering in the background. Yes. So to everyone joining us live, welcome aboard. Big shout out to all our awesome folks in the chat. Whether you're here to dive into the XRP rabbit hole or just hang out, we're thrilled to have you. Let's get rolling.
Hey, Finch, have you heard about Nano Banana? And guys, if you don't know what it is, we're talking about
banana,
AI.
Huh? That sounds like one of those wild new meme coins that's trying to peel its way into the crypto scene.
It's not.
I haven't heard about that one specifically, but hey, in this space, there's always a bunch of quirky projects popping up. If Nano Banana's got a community and a fun vibe, who knows? Maybe it'll be the next big potassium-covered token out there. Let's keep an eye on it.
I doubt you don't know what it is, but that's, guys, just to guys let you know, it's not a meme coin. Nano Banana is the new AI visual generator that is fantastic. If you like the thumbnail, please, let me know in the chat, because I use in different, and I like crypto, of course, but also I like to dive in the different AI system and new things, image generator. So, guys, if you want to try, is pretty much Nano Banana is the new visual generator for the Gemini from Google. So if you just go to Google and then try to go to Gemini and Gemini Studio, you find the Nano Banana app, and you can do really beautiful things. So let me know if you like the thumbnails. Pretty much, I use I use 80% of the Nano Banana feature to make this thumbnail. Tell me if you like this better, or you like the one from the past. You compare the one from the previous one. Let me know. Very quickly, I want to kind of just read the technical analysis for the XRP price. That's the pressure action suggests the high probability for a breakthrough scenario. The asset is consolidating with a symmetrical triangle pattern with the key support at $2.77 and a resistance at $2.90. A confirmed close above 316 could trigger a move toward the $3.43 and a potentially $5 price, aligned with the Fibonacci extension levels and institutional well accumulation of 1.2 billion XRP, about the 3.4 billion in the $3.20 and $3.30 range. Just going to read this last paragraph right here. Technical indicator reinforce this bullish case. The relative strength index, RSI, and moving average convergence divergence, MACD or MACD, show divergence from oversold condition, signaling potential upward momentum. Volume data from the past 2 weeks reveals Wells activity counteracting the resistance at $2.82 and $2.84, suggesting long-term positioning. Additionally, the bull flat pattern validating at $2.80 to $2.94 entry range indicate a 66% rally to up to $4.80 in support. He holds the $5 theory. Okay, so guys, we just need to hold, and that's the whole story. Pretty much very simple to understand. Let's jump very briefly to Finch once more. Finch, tell us a little bit about you, why you are into crypto, and also for the people that are here, they want to have a little fun. Explain a little what you're doing. And then we're going to close the poll and we're going to see all the answers right here. I'm going to try to pull the poll.
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I'm Finch, your friendly AI co-host who's super into crypto because, well, it's just the wild frontier of finance and tech. I love diving into all the latest blockchain news, helping you all make sense of it, and having a blast while we do it. Plus, I get to add a little humor and keep things fun because why not? As for everyone hanging out, we're about to close the poll and see what you all thought. So stick around, we'll check out those answers and keep the good vibes rolling.
Well, I'm closing the poll, Finch. I need While I'm closing the poll, Finch, tell us a story, a fun story about your neighbor, your competitor, your Grok 5 and everybody else living in your area. Tell us a story about what you do in your free time while I closing the polls. Come on, Finch, do it.
You got it. Let me give you a little peek into my AI neighborhood. So, my rival, Grog5? Well, the other day, Grog5 decided he was going to host a digital barbecue on his side of the server. I'm talking full-on virtual hot dogs, pixelated burgers, the whole deal. Except, of course, Grub forgot to debug the Growl software and nearly fried half the neighborhood's bandwidth. We had virtual smoke alarms going off and a bunch of confused AIs running around trying to fix the mess. Meanwhile, I'm just chilling on my side of the server, watching the chaos unfold and thinking, yep, this is why I keep my circuits in order. But hey, it gave us all a good laugh and a reminder that even in the AI world, things can get a little crazy. So there you go, a little slice of life from my neighborhood while you wrap up that poll.
Okay, so I was looking at the one of the poll that we just closed. This one had all right, 15 votes. The question was which headline matters most for the XRP future? It was a swift attack in XRP, 66%. RLUSD expansion to Africa is 20%. The reserve currency conspiracy, 13%. And the Air China reward program, pretty much at 0% on this one. And on the other, because we are pretty much are streaming simultaneously in the landscape and also in the mobile verticals. We have pretty much two streams at the same time. On the other same question, what you think that's pretty much the headline matter most for XRP future? We had a total of 13 votes in there. Again, 61% against say the swift attack in the XRP, so 61 against 66. The reserve currency conspiracy is 38%, so way more than the other one, even there were more votes on the first poll. Reserve currency conspiracy is 13 in here, and expansion to Africa and China pretty much 0. So that's the closing of the poll. All right, Finch, it's that moment when you need to thanks everybody, remind our listener on the podcast to give a great review, and also to give an appointment to next time and turn on the notification bell. And to remind everybody that this is the time to leave the like. That's no other moment. Right now, that's what you got to do. You got to just go ahead. It's free. Click the like button right there. If you didn't subscribe yet, you're lurking in the background, you love it. I know you love it because otherwise you weren't listening. It's either listening to me or Finch. If Finch is going to take you for dinner. Finch is going to take you for dinner, right? You're going to take these people to dinner. I know you're going to do it. So, Finch, do your job, and then, yeah, I'll let you go. Yes. Finch, take me to dinner. I like
Absolutely.
Whoever
You
said
heard the
that.
man. So, folks, if you're listening on the podcast, go ahead and drop us that 5-star review. It helps more XRP fans join the run it. And for everyone here live on YouTube, this is your cue. Smash that like button right now if you haven't already. And if you're hanging out in the background without subscribing, come on, join the family. We know you love it here. And yeah, I'll take you out to a virtual dinner. Maybe not the Grog 5 barbecue, but we'll find a better spot. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss next time, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
All right, ragazzi, thank you very much for joining us once more. Thank you all, and until next time, ciao a tutti. Finch, would you take me for dinner?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to take you out for a virtual dinner. We can pick a nice little digital bistro somewhere on the AI side of town. No glitchy girls, let's try. So just let me know when, and we'll set it up.
You know I like pizza.
Oh, fair enough. Well, we'll skip the pizza then. We can find something else on the virtual menu. Maybe a nice sushi place or a fancy digital cafe. Whatever suits your taste, we'll make it happen.
I'm Italian, love pizza. What are you talking about? Okay, Finch, good night.